Hello, everyone. Today it's all about men's health. And I think we're going to get into some metabolic changes in your body that could lead to cardiovascular and vascular disease that if you take the reins now, you can end up preventing some heart attack, stroke, and amputation later in life. So we're going to hear more about it in just a moment, right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away.
Streaming at KDOW.biz on our mobile app, iHeart, TuneIn, and the Odyssey app.
If you can't find us wherever you go, you're just not trying.
AM 1220 KDOW.
Can you guys hear me?
KDOW.
Yep.
Sponsored by The Way to My Heart Incorporated.
Welcome to the Heart of Innovation, 60 minutes that could save life and limb with new breakthrough ideas and innovation changing the healthcare landscape. Brought to you by Patient Advocacy Group, the Global PAD Association at padhelp.org, in partnership with Reflow Medical, the pulse of medical ingenuity. Here are your hosts for the Heart of Innovation, Emmy Award-winning journalist and founder of the Global PAD Association, Kim McNicholas, and interventional cardiologist and founder of Save My Piggies Health and Wellness, Dr. John Phillips.
More and more men are taking the reins earlier on in their life to get their health under control, to get their metabolic health in particular under control, because your metabolic health throughout your life can dictate whether you are at greater risk of heart attack, stroke, and amputation later on. With us, my amazing co-host, interventional cardiologist, Dr. John Phillips. Today, he's going to be talking all about men's health and the things that you can do today to take the reins and hopefully prevent cardiovascular and vascular diseases, maybe even cancer down the road. And speaking of road, he's on the road. We may end up having him go in and out. So with us, of course, we do have a couple fellow warriors, cardiovascular warriors with us. We have Douglas and Thomas, who may chime in a little bit later with their stories. But Dr. John, tell us, can you just describe, I know you're smiling there, but I want to ask, because so many people say, well, what is metabolic health? What is it? Why do we care about it? Before we get into your moment of inspiration.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think, and again, this is just kind of my take on it. And again, forgive me if my signal's bad. We're actually driving right now. But June's Men's Health Month, and what exactly does that mean? It just, I think it means raising awareness for men and to men to go to the doctor and get yourself checked out, in the sense that what's your blood pressure, get routine labs that we can talk about, get your screening for cancer, and just being aware of who you are as a person, and acknowledging that us guys, we tend to die 5 years earlier than women do, okay, on average, which is not great. And a lot of us, and I'm as guilty as the next guy, avoid going to see physicians and aren't really proactive in our healthcare, and just we're very reactive. So this is all about being proactive in your healthcare, and kind of like what you do, Kim, in the PAD Global Society there, and just being really being proactive with patients.
Yeah, I think it's so important, but it's hard. I think not only for men, but even for women, that you put things off and you are scared of going to the doctor because you don't want to find out anything's wrong. And it feels better to make excuses as to why you might be feeling fatigued, or you might be slowing down. Oh, it's the stress. Oh, I didn't get enough sleep last night. Oh, I didn't get enough protein. And then brush it off. And then it progresses to a point where maybe it's not treatable, or there are fewer treatment options later on. Whereas the moment you start feeling that fatigue, you start feeling like, hey, I took one less step today. And I know I'm exaggerating, but at that point, there might be grander, more conservative options, which is what your organization does. You're an interventional cardiologist, but also you have a preventative, what should I say, medical program on the side, and proactive program on the side. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we've been open for 2 years now. We bought into a franchise called Game Day Men's Health. I've spoken to that before. And what really kind of got my interest was the notion of being proactive with respect to your health instead of being reactive. And it's interesting when I'm at work, and you've seen this too, but uh, I'm taking call. We're seeing patients that are younger and younger having heart
Yeah.
attacks, strokes, vascular problems, and invariably every patient, and I can, and they, you can tell that they thought, man, if I would have changed my ways 20 years ago, this would be a totally different situation. I may not. Now there are certain things that happen and you can't control, but there are certain um, red flags that go up for people. And as even in our 20s, we start showing signs of issues with our glucose, our ability to manage glucose and our weight, and we're not exercising, and our blood pressure. And these are all risk factors for peripheral arterial disease and coronary artery disease. So my whole like part of your mission too, like our mission is to get the word out to the 20-year-olds, the 30-year-olds, and the 40-year-olds, 50, whomever, right? Just to be proactive in your healthcare. So Game Day Men's Health, we focus on low testosterone, so hormone replacement for men. We focus on vitamins, nutritional supplements, peptides, which we'll talk about. And there's an asterisk there. Weight loss, erectile dysfunction, just like all those things that a lot of people just are kind of like, well, I'm getting older. This is just who I am. I maybe, I don't have that extra, I can't put it into sixth gear in the gym anymore, and that's just fine. And I think some guys are realizing, like, you know what, I can get to sixth gear now, maybe seventh gear, if I take better care of myself. So that's kind of the mission there.
It's hard though when you are young and you think you're invincible and you're still going to In-N-Out Burger on a regular basis, and you're kind of eating on the go, whatever, packaged stuff, ultra processed stuff that you can find, carb loading. It's difficult, right, to get that across. What has been your experience with some of these younger folks when you've offered outreach programs? I know that you recently were out at, what was it, Ohio State at an event, and you were talking to people about game day, talking to people about getting their health under control sooner rather than later. What was the
Yeah.
response?
Yeah. I mean, that was, so that's another can of worms, right? Because we were there for mental health too. And it was for mental health for men. And it was sponsored by some former OSU athletes. But, it just in general, I think it's like breaking down the stigma of, okay, yeah, you're a guy, and we get sick, and our bodies. I mean, if you think about it, right? Once you reproduce, in my opinion, like once you reproduce, you've kind of done your duty as a species, and so like, uh, your testosterone just drops 2% each year after age of 25, and so it just goes down, and people kind of, that's, a lot of guys, I'm fatigued, I don't sleep well, I have this brain fog. Well, that's probably a lot of it's low T, and we can help you with there. And some of it's just trepidation about getting back into the gym, or wanting to explore some of the peptides and stuff that are out there. So it's, we like to be a sounding board for guys and let them know that it's disarmed, in the sense that you come in, we're not judging, we're here to help, and we want to just make you the best version of you.
And coming up next, right here on The Heart of Innovation, we're going to have a moment of inspiration, as if the entire hour is not inspiration enough to get your health under control. That's coming up next. Also, more details on some of the most popular supplement trends for men. So stay with us right here on The Heart of Innovation on KDOW. Don't go away. Nice job, Doctor.
You too. We're okay here, signal. It looks like we're on a main road now, so in fact, we probably have some signals, a decent signal.
Yeah, no, that's great. No, it sounds great. If we don't
Okay,
get, Douglas and Thomas in early on, let's get a question from each of them in later on.
sure, sure.
So Douglas and Thomas, just think of a question for later on, just in case, that you can ask
Marcia
Dr.
has a
John.
question too.
Oh, and Marcia has a question too. Marcia, is it along the same lines as what he's talking about right now? So he could go to you right after the break,
Yeah,
or
I'm just kind of curious about the new, it seems, new popularity of these clinics, if it's new technology, if it's new awareness, that they
that's a good
seem to
question.
be everywhere.
Yeah, that's a great question. Great
Okay.
question.
Yeah. So Marcia, can you hold that thought? And then he's going to do his moment of inspiration and then say, and then Dr. John, at the end of your moment of inspiration, maybe just say that, and we're open, give me a call, give us a call here. We have
Yeah,
a line 1-800-516-1220 or online, put it in comments. We already have a question coming in from Marcia.
awesome. I'll do it.
That would be great. So, yeah. Where are you guys
Good.
going? You're going to the beach?
30 seconds.
Murrells Inlet, South Carolina. So it's just a little bit south of
Myrtle
Myrtle
Beach?
Beach, I think. Yeah, Myrtle Beach. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, that's
It's
going to be
the
so nice.
it's
You-
extended Phillips family vacation.
Do
So
you
there's a
I
want
lot
to
of
love
lead?
it.
us.
Do you want to lead off with the moment of inspiration?
Yep. That'd be
All right.
great.
Yes,
Thanks, Chris.
please.
876-7959.
Good call. Good call.
That's 800-876-7959.
AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Dr. John Phillips, spectacular vascular moment of inspiration.
Okay, so like we mentioned, June is Men's Health Month, and I'm going to start out with a sobering fact that I kind of alluded to. But so men die on average 5 years younger than women, and a lot of it is from preventable deaths like prostate cancer, heart disease, mental health, and we tend to ignore these. So my call to arms, guys are more apt to get their oil changed at 3,000 miles, but yet they won't see a doctor for years. I can't tell you how many times I've see a patient who's like doesn't go to the doctor. So my charge to you guys is let's flip the script, book an appointment, have a conversation with your doctor. Your health matters, you matter, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything, right? So please go see a physician. Come and see us at game day if you like. Talk to Kim if you got issues with the legs, etc. But talk to somebody and take care of yourself. So that's my charge. That's my moment of inspiration. And
I love it.
Kim, is you okay with that, Kim? Is that okay?
Oh, I love that. I think it's so important. That's the perfect moment of inspiration.
Awesome. So if I get the number right, so you
It's 1-800-516-1220 if you want to take
call in
control
right
of your
now.
health.
The lines are open. 1-800-516-2220.
1220.
1220.
Yep. 1-800-516-1220. If you're calling in on Saturday, we're live and Dr. John is here to answer your questions about men's health. And we already have someone coming in here. We have Marcia. If you're online also on youtube.com/the outside the way to my heart, put it in comments. Joshua is there in comments taking those questions as well. So go ahead, Marcia.
Yes, hi. I was just curious. I seem to hear a lot about these clinics that seem to be springing up everywhere. I'm in Ohio, so I hear them, see them on radio, TV. You obviously have one. I was just in St. Louis, and I saw a lot out there and heard a lot. So I'm wondering, are these new, and is it technology? Is it just renewed interest? Is it, side jobs for physicians? What is the reason for the new popularity?
Or money-making opportunities.
Money making, yeah.
I knew you were going to go there. I knew, so I just said it for you.
Now my brain works.
I know, and that's,
Really
I
knows.
can see Dr. John smiling.
Oh, so well, I'll tell you my take on it is I think we know that there are certain replacement supplements and ways we can age better and have better health span as opposed to lifespan, right? So their health span, this kind of notion of, yes, you live to a certain number of years, but you're healthy doing it as opposed to your lifespan. I guess if I lived to 100 but was in a bed for 10 years, that's not really a great quality of life. So we talk about this health span. And so it's trying to age better, I think. And part of that is addressing certain issues like hormone replacement, okay, for guys and for women too, for that matter. I mean, don't get me started about the who were not allowed to receive estrogen and progesterone in their perimenopausal state because there was
Yeah.
some bad data that went out that said it caused breast cancer. That drives me absolutely crazy. So I won't go there. But for guys, low testosterone, and then now all of a sudden we have the ability. I would venture to guess in 15, 20 years, you probably will not see obesity anymore because of the GLP-1s, which are peptides, right? And so, so weight loss is a big thing. Some of the other peptides that are available that have, again, very, very limited behind them. Okay.
We're starting to lose you, Dr. Phillips. You might want to switch over to audio, but he's talking
Okay.
about something
Ties.
really important. We started losing you there in the last
Oh,
part,
sorry.
so you might have to repeat what you're saying or maybe call in, but we do see you now. But because you're mentioning some really important things, and there are a lot of companies that are capitalizing on trends, the GLP-1s being peptides. And so now it is all about peptides, but now we're seeing that there are companies that may not be 100% above board and might not have the clinical evidence behind their particular supplement. They might be using a cheaper version of the ingredients or not combining them properly or asking their customers to use them appropriately. And I think that that's a huge issue and why it's also important to Marsha's notion that having clinics like this that can guide patients is really important.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay now? Sorry
Yeah.
if the signal is bad. So yeah, a couple of big time caveats about peptides if we're gonna kind of go into that. So the peptides themselves are the landscape itself is evolving very rapidly, okay, and it's kind of politically charged, to be honest with you. But most of the peptides are not approved by the FDA, okay, which then has particular implications with respect to distribution and getting them, okay. So then if the FDA doesn't approve it, then you're not able to get these from a standard kind of pharmacy. And they're often considered part of like the gray market. And there are these pharmacies that compound certain peptides. And peptides are just short. There's a bunch of amino acids, so it's not a true protein. Proteins are long groups of amino acids. Peptides are short-chained amino acids. And so that, like, so for example, insulin is a peptide, right? The GLP-1s are peptides, but the peptides that we're talking about, kind of the most popular ones, there's one called BPC 157 that is a synthetic peptides. It's actually from gastric juice. Okay, so there's evidence there that suggests that it might help heal soft tissue injury. There are other peptides that they kind of stimulate growth hormone release. So there's some interest in there in trying to increase that kind of helps increase maybe cortisol levels to kind of help you improve sleep, muscle recovery, anti-aging. There's peptides out there that help with erectile dysfunction. There's a couple peptides that are thought to interact with the mitochondria to kind of, again, keep the cells alive longer. So there's a lot of interest out there. It's just a function of where are you getting these things? Are you into the data? Because there's not a lot of human research into these. I mean, that's a big asterisk right there. But they're everywhere. They're everywhere in California, all over the place.
And I was reading Instagram. Be careful where you get your information, but I think that this was just interesting. And this doctor was making the point to be careful with the 157s because there isn't the clinical evidence to prove a lot of what's being said out there about them. And to the extent that people are using them, there isn't enough clinical evidence to support that level of usage at this point.
That is exactly correct. And I know we're coming up on a break, and when we come back, I can kind of get into the FDA regulatory arm around peptides and where it's currently and where they're going, if that's of interest to the audience, which I think it might be.
Definitely. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. We'll be right back. Yeah, this person on Instagram really called out. I guess there was one person that was kind of like the leader in everything, and then there was some FDA study that suddenly it just dropped, it closed, and no one said a word about it. And then suddenly, even without the additional clinical evidence, they're just exploding in popularity. And I don't know, how are people getting
So
these things?
so I'll give you our personal story. So in Ohio, you cannot, every state's a little bit different. But in Ohio, you cannot distribute peptides. You can't send peptides to people, even though you have a prescription from a licensed pharmacy it may not be in the state, but it's a compounding pharmacy that, does. So part of the issue is like, where are you getting it from? I mean, is this some guy in the garage that's mixing saline and stuff together and sending it out? Which you see that, or are you getting it from what you think is a reputable compound? But then the state dictates whether or not you can sell or I shouldn't say sell, where you prescribe to individuals. And Ohio's one of the states where non-FDA peptides. And so the BPC 157, which is the most popular because a lot of people use it for that tissue recovery after an injury. And we've seen pretty good results. Can't get it in Ohio, but we can call a guy in California and he can ship them to me in Ohio, it's so asinine. But I mean, it's state regulatory differences.
But have you found that the 157, you said that you think that it works in some, you've seen. So, I mean, the thing is that I don't want to be,
no,
I
I'll
mean, I
just say,
don't
like,
want
I've
to
seen,
be
we've had
hypocritical.
what I think you just have to, the way I look at it is, okay, like if you're somebody who is, the dogma is FDA approved, is it FDA approved? Isn't it? Where's the clinical data? Is it in humans? Is it in animals? I mean, I think you just have to come into it eyes wide open, but we've had a lot of people that have been, I used to take it when we could get it, PPC 157, in addition to another compound. And it helps with injuries, honestly. Like, we've had several people that torn pec, biceps, and it helps their recovery. But you have to be a little bit careful too, because there's an angiogenesis component with it, so it's causing increased red blood or blood vessel formation potentially. And so if you've predisposed to cancer, you don't really want that kick starting anything.
30 seconds.
The peptides landscape is very, it's extensive, and it's a little bit, it can be sketchy, like you said.
So can you start off there with
Sure.
everything you covered in break?
Yeah. Yes.
That's really interesting stuff. Because on the one hand, it can help with angiogenesis for PAD, but does it further cancer growth?
KDOW.
Yeah.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm just going to continue our conversation about peptides. And can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, good. Sorry. Still have the music in my background. But so let's talk about BPC 157, because you mentioned that. And again, this is found in human gastric juice. So, you make this. But there's some work that suggests that it promotes angiogenesis. So that's new blood vessel formation. And it increases what are called the fibroblasts. So those kind of help soft tissue injury recovery and nitric oxide synthesis, which we've talked about. So this is all kind of dealing with the body's repair mechanism, or the cascade. So it's thought to maybe accelerate the repair cascade. So the issue is that there's only a couple small trials in humans, and that's one was for like chronic knee pain. Another one was for an injection just to kind of um, help with a shoulder injury, I think it was. So there's very little data behind it, and so you have to go into these, like we said, with your eyes kind of wide open. And so, for example, if you look at what the FDA has done, so before 2023, a lot of these press peptides were in kind of a regulatory gray zone. So, there's pharmacies that are called compounding pharmacies. They could prepare these peptides, and you could individual people, okay, with a valid prescription. So then in 2023, the FDA got a little bit more aggressive and they started banning compounding pharmacies from using a lot of these gray market peptides. So BPC 157 was one. The one that's called ipamorelin, that's like a growth hormone secretagogue. So that's the one that helps kickstart growth hormone in the pituitary to maybe help with sleep recovery gym recovery, muscle recovery, growth, sleep recovery. So then in 2023, a lot of these were taken off the market. So with the new um, administration, there has been kind of a rethinking of this to some degree. And so in April this year, they removed several peptides off a kind of safety concern list. And it looks as though supposedly in late July, they're going to convene a group called the Pharmacy Compound Advisory Committee. And they're going to look to see if some of these previously banned peptides can get back on the list that can be compounded and then, distributed to individuals in the, with a valid prescription.
And I want to be clear because I was a little hypocritical, Dr. John, earlier, and we always talk about doctors arguing for their own limitations. And there's a difference between a doctor who practices medicine and the other one who hides behind the practice and waits for everybody else to practice medicine first. And I think that there's a balance. And I give credit to all of these people, all of these doctors that, such as yourself, that are saying, hey, we're not going to close our minds off to this. We're going to open it. There could be benefit. We're going to try it in a safe manner and we're going to see what it does, but we're going to practice medicine in a legal, efficacious, safe manner. But people have to realize that they need to disseminate between the doctors that are practicing medicine in the right way and those that are pushing products and in an unsafe manner and pushing products for monetary reasons. How do you help people to understand the difference, especially when it comes to supplements such as peptides and even testosterone? You can mail order testosterone these days.
Yeah, I mean, I think it runs in parallel to what you and I talk about on a weekly basis, which is, okay, be a fact checker. It's your body. So if a physician is recommending a procedure, well, okay, does that make sense? Or reach a second opinion or check the credentials of that person. Again, I'm very upfront with my patients, and it's the same thing with peptides, the same thing with testosterone. You got to look at the source of where you're getting them from. I ran into a patient, and I'll just say that they were getting their peptides from someone in Chicago that is not an MD, and asking me can you get me these things? And I'm like, no, we can't. Like, you should not be taking this stuff. And he's like, well, this guy will sell you anything. Well, sure they will, but snake oil, stuff that they mix in their garage. And so it's like, you just have to be careful and, who's the source and where are you getting it from, and do your research.
And I'm not trying to call out yes, I am. I'm going to call it a particular practice, simply because there are good eggs and bad eggs in every single practice, in every single organization, in every single rule, right? We'll just put that out there. But I've been hearing from patients that there are chiropractors that are out with commercials and such that may have gotten an additional certification for functional medicine, that suddenly they're prescribing They're doing diabetes management. They're even doing there's one that we found out was doing vein therapy. We have ones that are now issuing testosterone and doing red light therapy for neuropathy. And it just goes, the list goes on and on. And supplementation, grander supplementation. For me, I would always want to maybe explore, see what they have to offer, but then I would fall back on an actual MD to make sure to confirm whether or not this is the right approach for my presentation of healthcare issues.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think, and that's partly why the FDA is cracking down on this because, they want to make sure that people are safe. I mean, like that's their job. That's their fiduciary responsibility. And so if you've got every Tom, Dick, and Harry finding some second compounder that makes something that resembles a peptide, and you don't know what you're injecting, and you're getting it from some guy peddling it off the street or some gal peddling off the street, yeah, that's not good. And so there have to be some guardrails. And I agree. It's just, I think they've taken it, in my opinion, maybe a little bit too far. But to your point, I have heard of chiropractors. I've heard of all sorts of folks that you don't traditionally think of that would be prescribing a medication to people being able to do so because it is so loosey-goosey out there.
Yeah, so you want to be careful. More coming up right here on the Heart of Innovation on KDOW. You can call in, ask Dr. John your questions about men's health, 1-800-516-1220. If you're calling in right now on Saturday as we're live, or else go ahead and put the questions in comments and we'll get to those as well. So stay with us right here on the Heart of Innovation. Don't go away.
That's a good question. That's a great question, Kim, because that person
I'm
was
going to get hate mail. I'm going to get a
no,
letter from the
like this was
Chiropractor
asking.
Society.
I guess I don't know enough about what they're able to do. If you can prescribe certain things, you don't traditionally think of them as prescribing stuff, but if it's just there to make money, there's better ways to make money, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I'm a fan of the I mean, I have a chiropractor and he's wonderful, but he sticks to what he knows.
Yeah, stay in
And
your lane.
he's amazing. Um, and also he doesn't do the neck in the traditional way,
Oh,
which I was most concerned about with neck because I've known two people one was paralyzed and the other one died like almost instantly
yeah,
through that.
yeah,
But I'm always careful, but we do have a question in kind of a statement slash, I think it could turn into a question from Michael 1975. So we'll get to that. And I think the question is those who have issues, they have a lot of clotting issues. He's concerned about his blood getting thicker through peptides. So I don't know if that's an issue at all.
not that I know of. The biggest issue is if you take testosterone replacement because it stimulates red blood cell production, so your hemoglobin and hematocrit can go up, and that can get your blood thicker, and so that's why it's really. I mean, again, it just goes to the fact that you have to go to somebody reputable, and you have to go a place where they're going to monitor your labs and make sure your H&H is okay, and not just give it to you. And that, like, we actually dismiss people from our practice, and it is a practice. Like Carolyn, my wife, runs it, and it's like we're militant. It's a medical practice. This isn't just like, we threw up a shingle and said, hey, here's testosterone and here's peptides and here's weight loss and whatever. I mean, we treat it like a practice, and that's what you need to look for, I think, if you're interested in this as a consumer and a patient.
But it's like my dad found out the game day here is not like your game day.
No, I mean,
And so
everybody's.
that was really frustrating. Like you
And
run your practice so much different. And I think it's because you're an interventional cardiologist. Your wife is a
A
nurse.
nurse, yeah.
She's really, you have different experience.
You're right, and I can't speak to what other, because they're all independently owned.
Yeah.
But I should just say what we do, and we are very buttoned up and by the book, and we're not I mean, it's a business, obviously. So there's overhead, you've got people to pay and whatnot, but um, we play by the rules where maybe some other ones don't or whatever, but it's the
Um,
space.
and I want to get to, so Douglas and Thomas, do you each have a question you want to get to this time about men's health? You do? He's so cute. I love him. I love Douglas. Thomas, do you have a question as well?
Is that a do-rag? Is that a do-rag, man? I like it. Get on the Harley.
I've been woodworking all morning.
Nice.
Sawdust is going everywhere.
Have you done a Save My Piggies thing for Dr. Phillips? He needs a Save My Piggies.
He's
Oh, you
kidding. I
did.
got
You
one. Yeah,
did.
he's kidding. It's beautiful. It's in
Yeah.
my
30
office.
seconds.
It's my office.
Thomas, I don't know if Thomas is paying attention, Thomas, or if he knows to unmute, but maybe not. So we'll get to Michael's question, and then, Dr. John, you can always throw to Douglas calling him the
Sure.
question.
Do you want me to do you want me to answer Michael's coming back?
Yeah, just say, hey, we have, questions,
Okay.
comments coming in. Here's what we're talking about.
51,000 missing as of Friday. This is SRN.
AM 1220 KDOW.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for joining us. We've got questions and comments coming in from the audience. Michael, 1975, I think he's on our YouTube channel. So thanks for watching and listening. He asked a question or had a statement about should he be concerned about his blood getting thicker if he were taking some peptides, and typically not. Again, like most of the peptides that we're looking at are kind of thought to help with tissue injury recovery. There's one that kind of helps with collagen, potentially helping with the mitochondria. So usually not, at least I don't think that you need to think about your blood getting thickened if you take them. Again, you just have to understand that a lot of them are not FDA approved. There's very little human research. More research is coming, so just think about that. But the one caveat that we talked about in the break was if you are taking testosterone replacement, which is why you need to go to a reputable place that is distributing the testosterone and monitoring your blood. You have to monitor your hemoglobin hematocrit, the volume of the red blood cells, and make sure it doesn't get too high, because that can thicken your blood as well.
Yeah, it's something that I had personal experience with my dad, that he ended up 3 months into taking his testosterone. I know there's no strong correlation between testosterone and blood clots, but there is some sort of causation, or maybe is it causation or correlation?
Well,
he did end up with bilateral occlusive fresh clot in his femoral veins.
So, there's evidence to suggest, it's interesting actually, when the Traverse trial, which was published in the New England Journal of Medicine, it looked at patients who had testosterone levels of, I think it was less than 300, and then randomized them to testosterone cream versus placebo, which was nothing, because they were looking to see if there was an increase of cardiovascular events in this patient population. And thankfully there wasn't. And there's some notion that testosterone replacement may have cardioprotective benefits, okay? But what they did see was a slight uptick in atrial fibrillation and pulmonary embolism. In lungs,
yeah, that's what my dad ended up. You're breaking up just a little bit, but yeah, you're breaking up. But my dad ended up with distally in his lungs. He had a couple clots, but it turns out they were coming from his legs. But he, along with having the testosterone, now he continues, he also is taking a low dose of Eliquis just to make sure, and he has not had a problem since. But his hematologist said, as long as you are taking the testosterone, you will stay on the Eliquis, and he's been doing great. And I think Dr. John froze, but I want to go to Douglas. Douglas is calling in. Douglas, you have a statement, you have a question. What's going on in your head?
Yes. I I find this whole thing interesting because last weekend I did a thing. I'm a health center here. I belong to one here. We did a thing all day, and this is for Dr. Phillips. Um, between being a vascular surgeon and your men's health, what's been the struggle? Because I heard that day a lot from men. I don't need a doctor. I'm a guy. Hang in there. Deal with it. I can hear my dad and my papa going, "Why are you going to a doctor? Your blood pressure, what's the big deal?" So that has it really been that big a struggle getting guys today to understand the importance of taking care of our health better? Because for me, it would be, I wish I knew now what I knew back then. And I didn't
Or
go to
vice versa.
Kentucky Fried. Yeah, I didn't go to Kentucky Fried Chicken as much. And I didn't have that many hamburgers and I didn't. So, but I can still hear my dad and my papa going, "You don't need a doctor. Just deal with it. You're a man."
I mean, just you have to break down the stigma, right? And recognize that we're all vulnerable and we all break down like a car and we need, I mentioned, I bet your dad and your grandpa got their oil changed in their cars, right? They probably took better care of their cars than they did themselves. And there's nothing wrong with going to see a doctor. And I forgot to mention too, prostate screening, right? Like it's a blood test and you need to do that, and get your prostate checked, just like colonoscopies. There's no shame in these things. We're living longer. We want you to have a healthy life, right? As you get older. And this is just part of the deal. Like just do it. And I know a lot of people that like, I don't go to doctors. That's what they tell me. I don't go to doctors. Well, now you're going to me because you've got blockages in your legs and you're going to lose a couple toes. So now your life is really going to change. And I guarantee you, all of us could say, "Man, I wish 10 years ago." Different. So now's the time to be proactive and get after it.
Yeah, I think that's so important. I mean, you're sitting there and I was watching your face, Dr. John, when Douglas was speaking, and you were cringing, just going, "Oh my gosh, yes, how do we fix this problem?" And we see it as well significantly in the African American community when it comes to peripheral artery disease, those blocked arteries in the legs. And even though their mother, their father, their brothers, their sisters, their grandfather, grandmother have all had amputations, they still don't go to the doctor because either one, they think, "Well, I'm going to have an amputation anyway. I might as well just not even go. What are they going to do for me? I'm going to end up like them." Or two, they fear going to the doctor because they fear what the doctor is going to say, that they're going to need that amputation, so they delay as long as they can.
So,
So
also, what I see here where I live is the lower economic communities are harder to reach than the others. So yes, it is getting the lower economic community involved and engaged in their healthcare more.
right, because they can't afford it. And even worse, what we're dealing with right now is, well, why do I even bother? I mean, even if I do see the doctor, even if I can afford, right, a copay to go to the consult, my insurance is going to deny the procedure. And we're seeing this over and over again because they cannot, pay the deductible. They can't pay cash out of pocket for an intervention to open up their arteries, right? You couldn't do that. I couldn't do that. So let's say you had a procedure last week, right, Douglas, to open up your arteries. What if your insurance would have delayed or denied that?
Well, and it's more than it's the gas. It costs $30 to do the tollway back and forth, and the time spent. So it is, and it is finding. We find that here a lot with my health center is that the lower economic community, it's hard for them to do the medication, the shots, all the stuff that sometimes they need. It is hard for them. It's harder in that lower economic, and we need to stay on track with them to keep them involved.
Yeah, that's why it's important that we need insurance companies to get on board and cover these critical medications and interventions for these patients, and especially in the lower economic areas, so that they don't fear going to the doctor, so that they can do something about it. If the doctor says, you need this medicine, you need this procedure, they can get it done and stay on their feet and live a longer, healthier life. And coming up next, right here on The Heart of Innovation, more with Dr. John Phillips, his final thoughts. So stay with us. Don't go away. I don't know if I made sense, but I tried.
Good recovery.
I tried to yammer on.
That's good. You did great. I was like, I lost audio. I can't hear. What the heck?
You know I did good. You don't even know what I said.
Well, you were very engaging. I was like, okay, well, it must sounds good. So, or like the engagement. Have you ever read the book Blink by Malcolm Gladwell?
No.
And I just got into it, and I think that the premise is, though, like, you can tell a lot about, there's like a 30 to 40 seconds of unconscious evaluation that your brain does, and it allows you to interpret interactions and make assessments about people and things very quickly that are accurate after, many hours of research and whatnot. It's very fascinating, but like, I could tell by how you looked without hearing you that it was going well.
Yeah, well, Douglas jumped in. He was very eloquent.
And Douglas was there too.
As well. It was really nice.
I
Thanks,
missed it
Douglas,
about,
for pinch hitting.
I just heard something about a toll booth. What was that about? The
Oh,
toll
he was saying
market
the
or
tolls,
something?
like going, it's a lot of time and stuff on and wear and tear on your body, going
Oh,
back and
yeah.
forth between,
Oh, yeah.
some of these patients can't get
Yeah.
care close, so they have to drive really far to get that.
We have
sort
a bus service that transports them 2.5 hours because they can't afford to get to Houston with some of what they have to do over there, especially our veterans. We don't have a good veteran service here. So, but we do provide service because they wouldn't be able to get over there because they don't have transportation. They're either on the street or something like that. And so we provide that transportation so they can get to those doctors.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's great.
important too. I mean, like,
So
you've
up
all
in
seen
this,
the heat map.
so in the last few seconds, do you think you're going to have 4 minutes in you, Dr. Phillips, for final thoughts as he freezes?
Did I freeze again?
Yeah. Because you're a critical zone here, because
Internet
we want to
connection
talk
does.
about, don't you want to talk about your protein bar? And I was going to ask you about, how do you incorporate, diet into this, whole
30
thing?
seconds.
Sure, go
But
ahead.
can you
Yeah, ask me if
mention,
you want to take it back.
well, I wanted you to go into Michael. Maybe it would help if TRT was microdosed.
Mm-mm. No, I mean, TRT is dosed once a week.
Oh, okay.
And so the microdose thing, yeah.
Okay.
You just
I'll
have to
take that.
sometimes twice a week, but yeah, most people once a week. But it doesn't.
Palo Alto, 1220 KDOW.
I'll take us back.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Heart of Innovation. For more on today's topic, go to theheartofinnovation.org. That's theheartofinnovation.org. Once again, here's Emmy Award-winning journalist Kim McNicholas and interventional cardiologist Dr. John Phillips.
As Dr. Phillips always says, we're rounding third now. Wish we had a 2-hour show, but we don't. I want to spend the last few minutes here, Dr. Phillips, talking about diet, because we can talk about procedures, we can talk about supplements, but the greatest intervention is in regards to diet. And I know something that's been important for you is the pyramid being flipped on its head and a greater focus on protein. And I think that that's really important for men, right?
Yeah, 100%. It's important for all of us as we get older. We're not getting enough protein in. Our muscle mass starts to go down. The new recommendations in protein intake, so pretty much we all need about 100 grams of protein a day.
Wow, that's a lot.
As I figure, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm working on a protein bar, and
Oh, wow.
and something that is, yeah, it's something that is more than just a protein bar. It focuses on the brain, heart, and gut access. So, that's really exciting for me. But it's multi, so it's not just the us in our 50s. It's the elderly folks too. Like, dad needs his protein, my mom needs her protein, and we're just not getting it. So we need to just eat better too. Eat better.
And I think that it's also important, especially for those with peripheral artery disease, for wound healing as well, if they're in advanced stage. That is not talked about enough. The need for protein, especially when it comes to not only healing wounds, but also when you're talking about working out and muscle recovery, right? I think we've lost Dr.
It's
John. Have we got you, Dr.
did
John?
I
There we
freeze
go.
again?
Yes, you did.
You got me now? Okay,
We
sorry.
do.
Yes,
This is
so
really
yeah,
fun.
that's big time. Big time. I know this. I'm sorry. This is terrible. But we're putting creatine in the bar because creatine
Oh,
helps
wow.
with muscle recovery, and it
Yeah.
actually creatine and CoQ10 together. They're being researched to help reduce neurocognitive decline. So we're putting CoQ10 in the bar as well. So really trying to make it a bar that's functional as opposed to just taking a protein supplement.
And food is medicine. It is the best medicine. And I love that you are doing that. So thank you for all you do, Dr. John Phillips. We really appreciate you. And if you have more questions about men's health, go ahead. Go to youtube.com/the way to my heart and put them in comments here. You can also email info@padhelp.org and we'll get your questions to Dr. John Phillips. And we'll schedule another show where you can answer more questions about men's health. But meantime, I'm excited about our 4th of July show. Next week, we have one of Dr. John's patients, Chef Eric, who is going to be joining us to demonstrate how to make your 4th of July barbecue artery healthy and diabetes friendly. So make sure you join us then right here on KDOW in the Heart of Innovation.